This is commentary on lesson 33 from the Workbook of A Course in Miracles. There's another way of looking at the world. We begin here. Today's idea is an attempt to recognize that you can shift your perception of the world in both its outer and inner aspects. So that reflects one of the main themes in our learning is to learn about the power of our decision, how powerful it can be. So the instructions are a full 5 minutes should be devoted to morning and evening applications. In these practice periods, the idea should be repeated as you find comfortable. That's key. So no stress in this, though unhurried applications are essential. So we want to try for repeating as much as we can, but in a very relaxed, comfortable, unhurried way. That's really important. Alternate between surveying your outer and inner perceptions, but without an abrupt sense of shifting. All right. So here we're training the mind to see the inner and the outer as the same, and so we're trying to see them as the same here. That surveying one is the same as surveying the other. So that'll help us get in touch with the cause and effect principle of the world that I see as a function of my inner world. So in the next paragraph, merely glance around the world you perceive as outside yourself, and then close your eyes and survey your inner thoughts with equal casualness. Try to remain equally uninvolved in both and to maintain this detachment as you repeat the idea throughout the day. All right, so let's talk a little bit about this idea of detachment, and which would include being uninvolved, meaning unaffected by. This sense in the mind of being able to look at it without detachment is a major sort of practice within all spiritual traditions, that we're developing our mind not to be reactive, and that in developing that non-reactiveness, then we're in a position to make a decision, a strong decision. But we can't make that when the mind is stressed out. So there's a really important idea. This is an important idea for in grasping because of, well, let's look at chapter 18 again as we did yesterday as we talk about this detachment. Trust not your good intentions, they're not enough, but trust implicitly your willingness, whatever else may enter. So as we're getting in touch with our thoughts, the power of them, as we mentioned yesterday, it's the power of our wanting. And it's this, in the Course, it's not for us to be without these unloving thoughts. It's not their presence that's the problem. It's that there's this wanting of them, which we're unaware of, that's the problem. So the fact that they're there doesn't matter. And what the ego is going to counsel for is going to say, see, you have unloving thoughts. How can you ever be loving? And it creates an aversion to those unloving thoughts. And that seems holy or whatever. But we don't have to be concerned about the unloving thoughts that are there. We just have to be wanting another experience there. So when he says here, concentrate only on this and be not disturbed that shadows surround it. In other words, this is this detachment. Don't be concerned with them. The fact that you have unloving thoughts is not going to prevent you from getting the loving thoughts. If we don't understand that, we won't be willing to look at our unloving thoughts. It'll be painful. They'll be repressed. And it's that painfulness of them, that repression of them, that ultimately allows us to, or causes us to project them. So he's saying here, this is just a logical point. That is why you came. If you could come without them, you wouldn't need the holy instant, right? So the holy instant is this idea of coming into the present by letting go of the past and the future and having this perfect communication with the Holy Spirit. But from the ego standpoint, it's always has us focused on the future. Like, I'll accomplish this in the future sometime, and it's saying, and in this context, it's saying, well, when I don't have any unloving thoughts, when I don't have depression thoughts, when I don't have sadness, when I don't have attack thoughts, then I can have the holy instant. But that'll never happen. The holy instant is what removes those. So the detachment here is really important. Come to it not in arrogance, assuming you must achieve this state its coming brings with it. In other words, don't try and attain what only this holy instant will bring you. I mean, it's like, I got to have this and then I can have the holy instant. No, it's that holy instant that will remove the unloving thoughts, just like light replaces darkness. So the miracle of the holy instant lies in your willingness to let it be what it is. And in your willingness for this lies your acceptance of yourself as you were meant to be. So let's just firm that up a little bit more in this paragraph, come down to paragraph 5. You merely ask the question. In other words, you merely just do this practice, become aware of it, and the answer is given. Remember that the course 3-step we mentioned when we started talking about attack thoughts, what our part is just to realize that things are a function of these unloving thoughts. And then the next step is to be willing to let them go. And then there's nothing else we need to do. It doesn't matter that they're there. We can see them. We just have to recognize it's those thoughts and not something outside of us, and be willing to let it go. And then they're already replaced right now. So then you're in the present. You're not waiting to become holy. You're not waiting for a future time. You have it now. And the presence of these unloving thoughts doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that they're there. What matters is that somewhere we want them. And the only way we'll learn to unwant them is having these other experiences that will be more valuable to them. And then that unwanting that's unconscious will go away. And then at some point, we'll be in the one-mindedness that the Course talks about. So we're here in this wrong-mindedness, moving to right-mindedness, and then eventually we'll be at the one-mindedness. But that's not what we need right now, is the one-mindedness. It's okay that the mind is split between these. So what he says here, in preparing for the holy instant, do not attempt to make yourself holy to be ready to receive it, right? That is to confuse your role with God's. Atonement cannot come to those who think they must first atone, but only to those who offer it nothing more than a simple willingness to make way for it. Purification is of God alone, and therefore for you. Rather than seek to prepare yourself for him, think thus. And then it goes on to say that you are ready now. That the presence of these unloving thoughts doesn't matter. Okay, so as we look at these and say there's another way of looking at this, as we look at the thoughts, that detachment is very important, not to be disturbed that they're there. So the shorter practice periods should be as frequent as possible. So now we're talking about another aspect of practice, which the first aspect is this morning extended practice of 5 minutes, the evening practice, and then these are the frequent reminders during the day. Specific applications of today's ideas should also be made immediately when any situation arises which tempts you to become disturbed. So this is this response to temptation. So longer practice periods, morning and evening, frequent reminders, and then this response to temptation. As soon as we've lost our peace, that's when we apply this idea. There's another way of looking at this. So remember to apply today's idea the instant you're unaware or you're aware of distress. So this brings us into this Course's notion of time, that the solution inside of us, the holy instant, it's already there. We don't have to wait for it. What we have to do is do this practice. And in that moment, that's when the holy instant can come. So, so this is encouraging. Don't delay the delay. Don't delay the holy instant. Don't let these thoughts go on for any extended period of time. As soon as we see them, then we practice. Uh, because the Course's view is that it's not necessary to spend any more time than's possible in suffering or in misery. It can go away right away. So as soon as we see them, not lingering with them, not letting it go, try and do it as quickly as you can. And so he goes on to say it may be necessary to take a minute or so to sit quietly and repeat the idea to yourself several times. So this is like the timeout for little kids, right? Count to 10 before you have the reactive mind. I mean, you really have to come to terms with, I can do something about the pain that I'm experiencing right now. I can change this, and I can change it now. And so saying closing your eyes will probably help in this form of the application. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you.